Good morning, everyone. We live in an age of acceleration. So let's take a look at how the latest and greatest innovation technologies can help us speed up innovation inside your organization. Now, I'm a very visual thinker, so I've had a lot of fun recently with the latest generation of AI-powered text-to-image generators. Can anybody guess what text I used to create this image? The elephant in the room, the English phrase, which means there's the topic that is so important, so big, that you just have to talk about it. And of course, the elephant in the room is artificial intelligence itself. And this image is actually a fairly good example of it. A year ago, even with Photoshop, even with stock images, I simply would not have been able to create this image. Now I can do it in just a couple of clicks at almost zero cost. And this kind of technology is being applied to almost every aspect of business. We can now do things that simply weren't possible before. But this is also a good illustration of AI because the actual text that I used to generate this image was an executive meeting with absolutely no elephants in it. And it just goes to show that AI doesn't always give you exactly what you think it's going to give you. It is slightly different from previous technologies, and we have to take that into account as we're figuring out how to use it best. Now, there's been a Cambrian explosion of new technologies. Hands up if you know what the Cambrian explosion is. It's okay, because we can always ask ChatGPT. It was a period around 540 million years ago where there was a sudden increase in the fossil record showing there was an explosion of new different types of life. And the researchers and scientists think that it's because of the presence of oxygen in the atmosphere for the first time. And AI is a little bit like the oxygen in this industry. We're seeing a sudden explosion of experimentation, of new possibilities, of new ways of working. And the technology is advancing very quickly. Hands up if you've used ChatGPT. Hands up if your kids are using it to cheat on their homework. So all of the big, ChatGPT, you've got Copilot now available. I'm one of the earlier testers of that. It looks fairly impressive. Just tomorrow, apparently, Google will be coming out with Gemini Ultra. That's their latest version. They're supposed to be very powerful. Apple is being a little bit secretive, but they have worked with an OpenAI, a model called Ferret, of all things. But we can expect in the next 6 months that they will probably have AI working on your iPhone, because they want to sell lots of iPhones. But there's lots of smaller organizations that didn't exist a year or two ago that are now working on responsible AI, working on how to take this AI and apply it into business. SAP has actually invested in all of these different companies. Then there's a whole bunch of open source AI. And this is interesting because there are no barriers. Anybody can take these, and on a powerful PC, they can start running their own algorithms, and nobody can stop them from creating new stuff. And then the technology itself is getting more powerful. There's something called Q-Star that ChatGPT is working on, and a successor perhaps to GPT, the transformers in GPT, something called Mamba. But in any case, the technology is only getting better. The technology, the AI that we use today, is the worst AI we will ever use. We're taking baby steps. AI is, just a couple of years old, but it's rapidly becoming more and more powerful. Now, of course, you probably don't care about any of that. We just care about what is it that we can actually do with this technology to help us run our business better. And it turns out that that's actually a relatively difficult question to answer, because the real answer is almost anything. This is a McKinsey study among many, and they looked at different parts of the business: supply chain management, risk management, R&D, manufacturing resources, and so on. And on average, they saw revenue increases from AI adoption of average around 60%, and cost decreases from AI adoption around 40%. So it really is a transversal technology. All of the studies seem to show that there really are some big benefits available if we get the right combination of technology and business problem. In the meantime, of course, we can use it to make pretty pictures. This is an AI-generated image of Copenhagen. Can anybody see the hidden image? Maybe at the back. It'll be easier for you. See the hidden image here? Anybody? Nobody? All right, let me make it a little easier. There you go. Can you see the SAP logo buried in there? Right, we're trying to bury SAP into everything you do, of course. So how can we use AI to bring out the best in every business? Well, we can use AI really to accelerate existing trends. And so let's look at various different areas where AI can make a difference, starting with end-user interfaces. Now, AI in general, machine learning, is not new at SAP. Here's one example. This is Chobani. They were one of the pioneers of Greek yogurt around the world, and they've expanded to other types of food. And we have millions of people using AI today in their Concur software, so automating almost every aspect of their travel and expenses. So if you're using TripIt, you can take a photo of a receipt. We're using machine learning to figure out what the numbers are in that receipt, and then when I give that in, it's audited using Concur Verify, and so it's checking that I'm not buying something I'm not supposed to have bought, that the numbers add up, and so on. And so in general, it's giving you a compliant view. You can audit everybody you visit using machine learning in the background to automate the things that have previously been very manual. So we've been doing this for a while. In all areas of SAP's business, there are people using machine learning. But of course, there's now these new generative AI technologies that we can add on top. And we can really start rethinking the business user experience. In fact, we can give them the kind of experiences that, frankly, they've been dreaming about for decades. The ability to talk to my business systems as if it's just an expert that can help me out. It could be analytics. Show me the revenue for my division, or budgeting. What happens if I increase the budget by 10%? It could be human resources. I'd like your help in creating a job description for this open post, or what are the kinds of interview questions that I should be asking candidates for this job? In every aspect of the business, people can just ask questions and get answers. Where's my shipment? Where is, there's a disaster somewhere in the Middle East. Where are my employees? I've got my duty of care. So all of these things we're putting, and it's called SAP Joule. We're applying across all of the SAP software. And in particular, we're going to talk about this in more detail later today, but just to give you a glimpse of how it might work with Concur. I'm going on a trip to New York. How much is that going to cost me? Predict, on average, how much it's going to cost for me, given my travel guidance, and it gives me the answer, right, based off all of the existing data. Then I want a hotel. I want that tailored to me. I put in my preferences in everyday language. I want it coffee shop, close to the metro, popular restaurants, and of course it's going to give me the hotels that I'm allowed to pick from. Then I can't remember how much I can expense for dinner. So I've got all of my travel expense and compliance information online. I can simply ask it as if I were asking an HR person, travel person. And then when I get my receipts, I want it to be far more intelligent. I want to be able to scan my hotel receipt and automatically break out what was taxes, what was the day rate, what was a meal, and put it all in the right places for me so I don't have to. I travel a lot, so I'm actually really looking forward to these kinds of technologies. Again, we'll be talking more about the roadmap later on today. So that's the first big opportunity, is we can make it easier for people to use our business systems so they can spend their time doing more strategic activities. You get more value out of your existing systems. This is the second biggest area we can help with. I talk to a lot of companies trying to do innovation, and I often ask them, well, what would you have done differently second time around on a recent innovation project? And the answer is almost always the same. They say, I would have spent more time cleaning and integrating data. It just turns out that data is the hardest thing. And in order to take a big step forward, most organizations find that they have to take a small step back and do the plumbing and actually go down into the sewers of their organization and fix their data foundation. So AI can help. Now, the returns of getting better data are skyrocketing, because this really is the lifeblood, the fuel for good AI, like garbage in, garbage out. So you really need good information before you get started. But technology can also help provide this strong data foundation. There are new ways of combining data that we call data mesh or data fabric. And this is a sort of a federated approach to data, where we leave it as much as possible where it already is. The problem in the past has been, for the last 30 years or so, anytime I wanted to use data, I had to rip it out of all of the different systems and put it in one place. Data warehouse or data lakehouse, data cloud. And I'm sure you've all been part of or customers of some internal project to try and integrate all of the different data from all of your different systems. And it's hard. Now, in the future, we can start using this data fabric approach. The problem in the past is that ripping the data out of those core systems is like ripping a tree out of the forest and trying to get it to grow elsewhere. It's possible, but it takes lots of time and effort, and you lose the connections with the data, the metadata, the hierarchies, the security. And that's why it takes so long and it's so painful to do these data integration projects. Now, we can do things in a more semantic layer way, where we actually leave the data in the core systems, in Concur or in SuccessFactors, all these different systems, but we have one key figure, whatever we want to see at the top there, and it's drawing all this information from lots of different systems, inside or outside your organization, but it's doing it on the fly. Federating it. And this just means that it keeps the connections with the underlying systems, keeps the value, and it's actually something that's really important when you're trying to use data from an AI point of view. A lot of our projects that we worked on have gone wrong because the data got extracted, they lost a lot of the context, and that context turned out to be really important for the kind of predictions they were trying to do with the AI project. Of course, once you've got the data in one place, you want to be able to do analytics. We provide that out of the box as part of the Concur system. And then SAP as a whole, we provide technologies such as SAP Analytics Cloud. Here's just one customer, NG from France, using it for all of their HR and expenses and travel data. They just bring it all together to get a easy view. And again, we're integrating that with Joule so that you can ask questions using natural language. And then when it gives you the results, it does it in the kind of formats that you expect, using artificial intelligence to generate the right kinds of charts so you don't have to do as much work. Of course, once you've got the data in one place, you'd like to plan for the future. We have, using machine learning, a predictive planning. So what are my travel expenses going to look like next year, given these assumptions, given the amount of hiring I'm doing, given that we've got new corporate guidelines, which means we can only do travel if you're going to see customers. You can start putting in those parameters and figure out what those figures are going to be next year. And of course, we're integrating SAP Joule yet again, so I can start doing all of that. I can start making assumptions. Obviously, I can still type numbers into cells. I'm used to doing that. But why, oh, can you rerun this? Give me a simulation of what this would look like if it turns out that people travel 10% as much. And it can just turn that into the numbers and do it for you. And looking forward, my background is in data and analytics, and we really start doing a lot more data magic. In particular, there's a lot of unstructured information in every organization that's in documents and emails and so on. And we've always struggled to really leverage the power of that information. Now we can really start bringing together the structured information in your systems like SAP with all of your unstructured information. It could be in your all of your documentation for your employees about travel expenses, or any other source of data and best practice. We can bring it together far more powerfully in the past. So any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. A lot of these things will start feeling like magic. Gosh, I can just get an answer to my question. Third big area we can help organizations is just to innovate faster. The biggest barriers to innovation in most organizations today isn't really the technology. The technology is already pretty powerful. What's stopping us is we just don't have the time and the resources to actually implement what we already could have. So why is that? Well, often it's because the IT teams are a bottleneck. Everything has to go through the IT teams. Business people are left frustrated. IT teams are left with a big backlog of innovation. Sure, we'd love to help do that after the next big upgrade. Then you can have it in a year's time. We'll think about that. So how can we help do that? Well, we can start using artificial intelligence to help get more out of your existing IT resources. Again, SAP Joule. So it's just a front end, for example, the ability to simply text, write in text, here's the kind of application I would like to build, and then it will create not just the code to run it on the SAP Cloud Platform, but also the data structures that you need and the sample data. And again, it starts looking a bit like magic. But of course, we've got a vast amount of SAP applications to draw from. As you're creating your application, it's not that different from everything that's gone in the past. So we can give you a solid first effort that then you can just tailor it iteratively to your needs. So that's one big opportunity to get more out of your existing resources. But there's an even bigger opportunity. And that is to let business people do more of the innovation themselves in their area of expertise without IT and technology being a bottleneck. So are you all ready to innovate? You are the purple people. The purple people, so-called halfway between the technology professionals and the blue business people. Gartner calls them business technologists or fusion teams. You are the kinds of people that would be part of fusion teams. Gartner believes that these teams, these people will be responsible for the vast amount of innovation inside organizations. So instead of having to go to IT all the time, IT puts in place a platform that lets you innovate directly. What changed is that the power users got more powerful, and all of us can now become power users because of the cloud and new low-code and no-code technologies. Business people can now do not just little macros and not just spreadsheets, but really end-to-end business workflows. Bringing applications to bring in data, workflows and decisions, and the whole end-to-end process is now possible. So here's, for example, this is one created by DHL, just a quick example of an application. You know when you rent a car and you go on holiday, the first thing you do is take photos of it in case you're accused of doing any damage. DHL drivers have to do the same when they pick up one of their cars. So they go around, they have a mobile application, you take pictures of any damage that they're not responsible for, that then they can upload into their existing systems. So it's a nice little application, easy to use. What's interesting about it, it was built with 0 lines of code, and it was built by the business teams. So they're using an SAP environment here called Build Apps, and you can simply program or create these applications by dragging and dropping blocks. So it's a bit like Lego. You simply drag and drop the blocks you need to create the workflows. And it just makes it very easy for you to create your own business applications. Now, we know that not everybody is ready to be enabled. There are lots of these tools out there now. You can start using a lot of the Microsoft tools and others to start create applications. The problem is that not everybody's ready to be enabled. The danger is you're giving chainsaws to toddlers. Business people don't necessarily take into account security and compliance, and some of it's illegal. Unfortunately, talking to IT architects, they sometimes say, well, people like GDPR. People treat GDPR as this annoying thing that they can just ignore. No, not really. You get big fines if you ignore that. So the answer is not so much pro-coders or low-coders. It's IT and business working together. It's co-code. And this is one of the biggest things that SAP is really good at. So we have these tools that can let you build applications, but unlike Excel and Power Apps and things, there's also all of the side from the IT and finance and compliance and governance and workflow side of things, so that the two work together, so you can actually make sure that you're doing things in productive ways. So this brings us to business AI. The way to get the most out of artificial intelligence is, it works best if you have a very particular business problem that you know you want to deal with. You have all of the right data to bear on that business problem, which typically involves lots of different systems, structured and unstructured data. And then you also need to be able to do something once you've taken the decision, like take an action. Now, all of those things are exactly what SAP has been doing for the last 50 years. We know exactly where to find in different industries, different lines of business. Where are those little business decision points where business AI can make the biggest difference, and how we can actually integrate that seamlessly into your existing system. So it's relevant. It's also reliable. We understand what mission critical is. We understand the possible downsides of getting this wrong in terms of compliance and so on. And then responsible. This is an area where I'm a proud European, and I think this is something that we might do better than some of our American counterparts, is that we understand what it means to respect all of the problems that you might have out of AI, such as gender bias and so on. Now, we do have to remember, when it comes to AI, it's incredibly powerful, but AI algorithms are psychopaths. They have no notion of right or wrong. That's not built into the system, right? Now, it learns from us, which also can mean that it takes all of our existing biases and does them faster and more effectively than we ever could. So we have a very robust set of principles and processes in place to make sure that as we're deploying these different algorithms in sensitive areas like human resources, that we have the barriers in place to make sure that you are protected from the potential risks of this going wrong. And we should be clear, there are risks of AI. I was just reading this morning, some poor finance executive in Hong Kong, he got an email from his CFO about a $25 million investment that needed to be made on a slightly secret basis. So he thought, obviously this is somebody phishing, trying to get me to do something. It's obviously a fake email. Then he got onto a Teams call with his CFO and a bunch of other finance people he knew. They're saying, no, this is a real project and we really do need you to transfer those funds. It turned out that all of that was deep fakes. They'd taken pictures of the executives and created video avatars of the crooks. And so this poor guy was on the call going, okay, well, this is my CFO. I recognize this person. Sounds just like them. I know these other people on the call. All right, 25 million. Boom, gone. So be careful. Next time your CFO calls you up on Teams, you're like, no, prove to me who you are. Actually, as an aside, if you haven't already done this, you have to do the proof of life keyword for your family. So when your daughter, son, parent calls you up saying, oh my God, I've just had an accident, I need some money, you can say, what's the password? Now, I'm only half joking because these things are happening, unfortunately. So anyway, all of that to say, to get the most, we believe that SAP is fantastically well positioned to help you get the most out of AI because we can really apply it to your specific business problems. You don't have to take our word for it. This is Eric Brethenu of Gartner. He's been doing AI for decades and says here, what's hard about it? What's hard about business AI is not the AI part. It's complicated, but the hard part is really the business part. It's taking those great ideas and integrating them into your system so they become great, productive applications. And again, that's something that we are very good at. We have worked a lot with our innovation projects that started off as little pilot projects using open source software. They proved that it could work. Then they needed to get it to actually work inside their systems. And that's where we can help. IDC agrees with SAP's rich history and business process expertise. We're uniquely positioned to deliver business AI. Now, looking toward the future, I get really excited because generative AI, I think of it as just this machine. You take lots of examples of something, you put them in a big funnel, and it can create new instances of it. So it could be pictures, right? I put lots of pictures in the model, and now I can create a new picture from text. Or it could be text. Write me a poem based on SAP software or something. But it could also be business data. So it could be entity relationships, columns and tables and graphs, and all of that data in your business systems. We can start using that to start generating new business processes. I talked to a customer in the UK a couple of months ago. It's like, oh, we're moving to a new business model. They sold B2B devices using factories. They're like, oh, we want to provide digital services on top of our existing machinery using IoT. But we know that that means a new customer experience, a new logistics experience, new billing, subscription, and so on. So we know we need to take our existing system and create all of these new business processes. And he was busy trying to figure out that. Now, that's exactly what we should be able to do for and with you. We have all of these customers who have gone through exactly that transition in the past. Whatever kind of business process you next want to implement in your organization, it's already been done in lots of other companies within the SAP ecosystem. So we should be able to offer you that more or less out of the box. In the future, automation should become more automated. So for example, we have a technology called SAP Signavio that does business process mining. Basically, you let it run through your different systems, and it tells you how good you are at your business processes. It benchmarks you compared to other people in your industry. So, supplier invoices, or how good you are at paying expenses, or how manual your processes are. It literally gives you a best practice score, and then you can say, okay, well, out of all of the things that I should work on to automate, here's the lowest hanging fruit. Here's where you can get the biggest opportunity right now. And then we have best practices. So within our portfolio, we have a lot of automation bots, for example. There's a whole library online where other companies have found these little automations useful, like connect to this system, get some data, put it into another system, and get it to work. So you can use those more or less off the shelf, like drag and drop into your SAP systems in the cloud. Right? So the cloud, we should be able to do that more and more automatically for you. So it should be, click here to innovate. And then taking it even further, right now, a lot of innovation is a little bit like, it's like walking up a staircase. It's a very manual process. You have to physically, okay, what's my next project, and so on. In the future, it should look more like an escalator, where you simply step on and use all of the data in all of those systems to proactively suggest what you should and could be working on next, and then offering solutions. So do the diagnostics, offer the cure, help you install it, help you move to the next lesson, right? So we've got this dream of an innovation future where everything becomes more automated. All right, so that's a wonderful vision. But we should just take a step back at this point and remind ourselves that it's not all about the technology. Did you know that we put a man on the moon before we put wheels on luggage? It's absolutely true. So man on the moon, what year? What year were you? Come on, don't be shy. 1969, very good. And first patent for wheels on luggage, 1972, believe it or not. And then it was a simple strap that you just attached to the, and 4 wheels, and you sort of just pulled it along. It took another 15 years for some bright person to come up with the idea of the handle that telescopes out of the bag. And another 15 years after that to come up with the modern spinner bags that you can comfortably pull along beside you. So 30 years after people first came up with the idea. So clearly that's not a technology problem, right? There's the cultural adaptation to the new technologies. And if you think back to the early 70s, a lot fewer people traveled. If you did travel, there were porters to help you out. It was considered manly, apparently, to carry your own luggage. Airports, people still went by ship a lot more. Airports were not the beautifully smooth places they are today, so the wheels didn't work as well. So over time, it's just taken us all 30 more years to get used to this idea on wheels for luggage. Now, the same thing applies to as we think about artificial intelligence. Right now is a fantastic time to start rethinking our roles. I guarantee that some part of your role is now obsolete. There's something that you probably just shouldn't be doing. But there's another part of your job where you can be 10 or 100 times more effective than you could in the past. Supercharged. The trick, of course, is to figure out which one is which. It's a great time to do it as an individual, as your team, and across entire organizations as a whole. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of horseless carriage thinking around AI, where people are taking their existing processes and bolting on a bit of AI onto the old way of doing things. Now, that's good. It provides business benefits. But, again, take a step back and go, okay, if we started again from scratch with some of these new possibilities, would we just approach things in a very different way? And I think the answer will be yes, in lots of cases. Anywhere you're shuffling paper around or paying people to reformat one set of data into a different set of data, that's probably a good candidate for rethinking how to use artificial intelligence. Now, one thing is really clear. It's not about Terminator. This is not a killing machine that's going to take away all of our jobs. It's a lot more like Iron Man. Like Tony Stark becomes a superhero thanks to technology. AI is about augmented intelligence. It's about taking the best about what we do and doing it faster and more effectively than ever before. So you're not going to lose your job to AI, but you might lose your job to somebody using AI better than you are. So, I love this phrase from, who's this? Pablo Picasso. Computers are useless. They can only give you answers. Thankfully, human beings are here to ask the right questions in the first place. Only people can really innovate in business. But it is time to take the plunge. Artificial intelligence is a little bit different. You can't really get your head around unless you try it. So really, I encourage you to use Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT or SAP Joule and start using it and figuring out what you can do differently. Where are those areas that you can start doing less work and work on more strategic things? So here's what we looked at. We can use AI for new user experiences, to implement a strong data foundation, innovate faster, and now is a good time to take the time to relearn and rethink your business. And of course, with all of that, SAP has been helping organizations surf the latest technology waves for the last 50 years. We'd like to help you do the same. Hopefully you can see the logo this time. Yeah, there we go. Make it slightly easier just in case. All right, with that, thank you very much for your time.